Hi Chiquita, how are you? I want to make a short little video um going over some basic algebra stuff for you. I almost forgot and I was about to go to sleep, but I'm just gonna just go over some basic stuff. And sorry if I'm a little sleepy. It's late, but I just wanted to do this video for you. And yeah, I don't know like where you're at as far as like algebra stuff, but I'm just gonna go over some basic stuff and you'll let me know, later what you're sort of going over if you're having trouble with some stuff. So let me give me a second. I like whenever I used to do my Zooms for my class, I always had paint and I would share my screen and then I could sort of draw as I'm like explaining stuff. So it's always like a pretty good help, especially the math stuff. So with like algebra, there's a whole lot of stuff with algebra, right? Now, the stuff like the geometry stuff, and let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, geometry stuff, not super well versed on. I'd have to brush up on a little bit, but from what most of algebra is like, especially in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of sort of math operations, right? So you're going to have to they'll do stuff like 4 times. Oops, hold on a second. They'll do stuff like 4 uh, multiplied 5 plus 6 minus 7, stuff like that. And then I'll give you like, what's the answer, right? So when it comes to like a lot of different math things, right? There's only 4 things, right? There's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? Those 4 things. There's also parentheses, but I'll go over that in a little bit. But when it comes to like mixing uh, mathematical operations, there's an order that you want to remember. And there's a little sort of, I think it's called an anagram, and it's called P mass. No, it's P X M E A S. So Um, so what that is basically it's like a little it's an order of operations. Like what do you do first, right? Do you first subtract? Do you add? Do you multiply? So we use this PXMDS to sort of have which order you're going to do things in, right? And there's a little sort of uh, kind of like a little not a song, but like there's little lyrics that make it easier to remember, right? It's hard to remember PXMDAS, right? So it's going to be please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You could change it, you could be please excuse motherfucker, dick, ass, suckers, you know, something like that where it's easy to remember. But so what the P stands for, that's going to be things in parentheses. So for example, let's say that you have 4 times 5, and then you have parentheses 1 plus 2, right? And you have to solve that, right? So again, which one do you do first? And because you can't always do it in random, well, you actually can't do it in random order because it's going to give you the wrong result. So you have to be able to do it in the order of operations. This, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So in this one, we would first do the things that are in parentheses, and the things that are in parentheses still follow the order of operations, right? Since there's only addition here, let me make this a little bit bigger. So first we would solve that. We wouldn't do this yet. first you would solve this to get clear of the parentheses, and then solve what's next, right? So whenever you get something like this where there isn't anything, like for example, once we solve, 1 + 2, which is 3, there isn't anything right there, right? So when there's nothing there, just always assume that there's going to be a multiplication, right? So right here, what we would do is that first we would do 4 times 5, right? And we just solve 1 + 2, which is 3. So 3, right? So now that you have the parentheses out of the way, next is multiplication, right? Since there's only multiplication, then you just multiply across, and you do it from left to right. So 4 times 5, 20 times 3, 60. So it'd be 60. Right? So the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's really important, right? So for example, on this top one here, right? First it's parentheses. If there's no parentheses, then can't worry about it. Second is going to be multiplication. So first we'll do the multiplication. And actually, let me zoom out a little bit here and move all of this stuff. I actually missed doing zooms. I got pretty good at it, and it was really cool to do. So then first you would do the multiplication, right? You're not gonna again do the addition, which is here, the A, or the subtraction, which is the very last. You're gonna do parentheses, multiplication. Excuse my parentheses, multiplication. Why repeat it? I'm kind of blinking out on this one. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Multiplication, addition, or division, addition, subtraction, parentheses. P. Oh, so I think this one here we take off. It's parentheses, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. See, I'm not even, like I said, it's late. So here we would do first the multiplication. That's the first one, right? Because there's no parentheses. So we would go 4 times 5, 20, plus, and then you would do 6 minus 7. And with math stuff like this, you don't want to try to do it all like in your head, because it's, you have to keep the order correct. You're going to like sort of trip up on something. So it's good to it's good practice with algebra to just rewrite everything as you solve. It's a good way to do it. That way it's like organized and you're 100% sure on your answer. So first we do the multiplication, which is, I think the X is not, oh, okay, this is what it is. So it's not X that's supposed to be here. It's going to be E. Please excuse. So the E is for exponents. So when you have like, 2 to the cubed. Right? So that's what E. It's not X. So my bad on that. So let me erase that and replace the E. There we go. That's what it is. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. So it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Right? And again, the exponents is this, like 2 to the 3rd power, 2 to the 5th power, right? And that's what that is like 2 to the cube is really 2 times 2 times 2. And that's what the exponents are. So now that we did the multiplication, we're gonna do, there's no division, right? So we're gonna skip that. Addition. So we're gonna do addition first. So we're gonna do 20 plus 6, so 26 minus 7. And lastly, we'll do that. So 26 minus 7, that's going to be 19. So final answer, and that is 19. Right, so that's your real basic algebra. The main thing is this, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Because they're going to give you long ass math problems to do. And if you don't follow this order, then it's not going to be right. You're going to get a wrong answer. And that's this order is what calculators use or computers use. So it's the mathematical order operation. So pretty important to remember that. And so that's how you solve that. Let's see. All right, so next thing that is common in algebra, let me make this a little bit bigger here, is going to be when you have to solve for like x, solve for an unknown value. So they'll do things like, what is 4 times x or times y, let's say, equals 20, right? So y is a letter, right? Y is an unknown. We don't know what y is. We're trying to figure out what is that, what its value is, right? So when it comes to stuff like this, the whole goal is to try to isolate this y, right? Because if we isolate the y, leave it alone, on either side of this equal sign, then we can figure out what y is, right? So when it comes to solving stuff like this, what you would do here is basically you would take, right, we have to take this 4 times this y, and we have to eliminate this, right? So how do we eliminate this 4 times is by doing the inverse of it, right? So since this is multiplication, the inverse of it is division. So if we divide 4x by 4x, and that's what this line is here, is dividing, that takes away, it eliminates this completely. It leaves this y by itself, right? But the most important thing to remember in this is that what you do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do on the other. Right? So you're going to do the same thing. 4x. I'm going to divide by 4. Right? So the x we don't have to carry. We're just basically dividing by 4 because this is being multiplied by 4. Right? So we're just dividing this 20 by 4. So then when you divide, let me get a calculator out here. When you divide 20 by 4, it's going to be 5, right? You just punch in 20 divided by 4, 5. So then that leaves y equals 5. So y has a value of 5. Right? So that's how you sort of isolate the letter and how to get your, this is actually pretty fun. Once you learn how to do this stuff, pretty fun. This is like the main sort of part of algebra, is this sort of stuff. And remembering, like, you want to isolate whatever letter. It could be A, it could be B, it could be Y, it could be Z, whatever letter it is, you want to isolate it by eliminating all the other stuff. But remember that whatever, like if there's a lot of things on there, you still have to follow the order of operations, right? So once you eliminate it by doing the inverse, right? If it was 4 plus y, you would subtract, right? You would subtract 4, and then you would also have to do the same thing here, right? So that would be 16, right? So if it's division, you would multiply. If it's 4 divided by y, you would multiply, right? You just do the inverse to eliminate this part. But again, you have to do whatever you're doing on this, you have to do on the other side. Right? So that's a big part of algebra. Like I said, once you get that part and you're able to do this sort of stuff, it's pretty fun actually, because you just, all they do is just add more stuff to it. But if you're just following the order of operations and these rules for algebra, you should be good. At least initially, right? Algebra can get a little bit more complex later on. So I'll just have to see what basically you're going to go over in class. So I think I'll go over one last thing. In algebra, there's also a lot of fraction operations or fraction mathematical operations, right? So they'll go half, plus 3/4, right? So, they'll be like half, 1/2 times 5/8, 5/8. And so when it comes to adding and multiplying and subtracting and dividing fractions, it's actually easier, a lot easier to multiply fractions because all you do is you just multiply across. Right, so here you would go 5, 1 times 5, and then you would do 8 times 2, 16, 5/16. Right, so multiplying is pretty easy, not a big deal, right? Adding is a little bit more complicated. Adding is tricky because when it comes to fractions that have a different denominator, which is this bottom number, it doesn't work that way. You can't just add 1 plus 3 and 2 plus 4. Right? It gets a little bit easier if you have, for example, 1/4 plus 3/4. So if you have both denominators, the bottom number, the same, then you can add the top numbers, the numerator. But the denominator, the bottom number, stays the same. So for example, here, 1/4 plus 3/4, 1 plus 3 is 4, and the bottom one just stays the same, 4/4. And it's also good to know how to, what is it called? Reduce. So right here, 4/4 really is the equivalent is 1. So you try to reduce your answer as much as possible. So when it comes to adding fractions, again, if the bottom numbers are the same, it's easy. If they're different, then you got to do a little extra stuff, right? So let me show you how to do that. So we'll do like this top one here. Actually, let's come up with a different one. Let's say 5/8 plus, let's say, I don't know, 7/9. I don't know, some random numbers I'm coming up. Right, so right here, the denominators are not the same, right? So we can't just add the top ones. So what we're gonna have to do is that we're gonna have to make the denominators the same so we can add just like if they were easy, right? So how we do that is that you're gonna take the opposite denominator and multiply it by the opposite fraction. So you're gonna go 5 times 9 and 8 times 9. You're gonna do the same thing to the opposite fraction. You do 8 times 7 and 9 times 8. Now there's other ways of doing this using the lowest common denominator. But to me, this is a little bit more simple. I think you should probably still learn the other way, but I always just found this to be sort of foolproof. It's easier. Right? So why I'm doing this, the multiplying by the opposite, is because when we now do the multiplications, right? 5 times 9 is 45. 8 times 9 is 72. Let me check the math. 72. 72 plus 7 times 8 is 56. And 9 times 8 is also 72. Right? So right here we can see why we did that. Because now we have both denominators the same, 72, 72. So here it's just simply adding 45 plus 56, and I can't do that in my head. 5 plus 56. 101. 101 over 72. So that's how you would handle fractions. Now, of course, like I said, there's the lowest common denominator. There's many different sort of methods. That one to me is a little bit easier. The only problem is that you have to be able to reduce things. So how do you reduce a fraction? Is going to be by, first you're going to start off with 2 and say, does 2 go in equally into both? And you can't have any remaining. It has to go in without any remainders, right? So 2, so you would say 72 divided by 2, 36, that goes in equally. But with the 101, it's not going to work. Right? 101 divided by 2. Yeah, because you have a fraction, right? It's 50.5 because of that 1 right there. So that's not going to work. So if 2 doesn't work, then you try 3. Same thing, 101. I know it's not going to work, but it's still going to show you. Oops, I haven't been sharing my calculator. Give me a second. I was sharing a calculator, but it's not, it wasn't sharing it. Hold on one second. There we go. There we go. So 101 divided by 3, I said. Same, we get a fractional result. So that's not going to work. You could try 4. If 2 didn't work, 4 is not going to work. The next one up is 5. That's still not going to work. I know it's not, but still, just want to show you how to look at it. 101 divided by 5. Right, still, you get a fraction. So you can't really reduce this one anymore. Right, so that's how you reduce fractions. Now, if this was just 100, then we can reduce it. Right, so then we would say 2 goes equally into both. Right, 2 goes equally into 100, 50, top one, and 2 goes into 72. It was 36. Right, and you keep on going until you can't reduce anymore. So 2 goes into 50, 25. And 2 goes into 36, 18. I think that's probably as far as we can reduce it. Because 25 is not going to go into 2. It's not going to go into 3. Just double check. Yeah, it's a remainder. It's going to go into 5. Right? It would be 25 divided by 5 would be 5. But 18 is not going to go into 5. It's not going to work with 5. 3.6. So then this is how you would reduce. So then the final result would be 25 over 18. If, again, if it was 100 over 72. But since we got on this one here that I just made up 101 over 72, can't reduce that anymore. So that's your final answer. Alrighty, so just a little introduction to some algebra stuff. Just let me know, where you're at. Like, send me pictures of like your homework and your assignments and whatever it is that you're going, so I get a better idea, and then yeah, we'll take it from there. So hopefully it's a little helpful, and I'm sorry if it wasn't more detailed. I'm a little sleepy, but at least I wanted to make this video for you. So oops, my camera. So all right, chiquita, I'm gonna go to sleep too because I'm tired and hopefully you're resting up well, and I miss you. You're so cute. So I'll talk to you tomorrow, and besitos.